Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Update, your go-to source for the latest news, expert insights, and real-time developments on Iraq's currency, economy, and financial reforms. Whether you're a long-time investor or just curious about the dinar, you're in the right place. For many years, the Vietnamese dong was something that sat quietly in the background of global finance, rarely catching the eye of those who focused their attention on more prominent currencies or larger economies. Its exchange rate seemed stagnant, its visibility limited to travelers, collectors, or a niche group of speculators. But now, it has begun to demand a second look. A spark of curiosity, almost an unshakable itch, has emerged, and it's not just about the dong itself anymore. There's a growing sense that Vietnam is a country worth paying close attention to. There is something stirring beneath the surface, a momentum building, and it's becoming increasingly clear that to understand the full picture, one must look beyond just the currency and begin to unravel the intricate layers of Vietnam's entire infrastructure. The story of the dong is embedded in a much larger tapestry, and that tapestry begins with Vietnam's leadership and branches out into the nation's future ambitions, its natural wealth, its financial systems, and how it has navigated the world in the shadows of much larger and more powerful neighbors, particularly China. Vietnam is officially a socialist republic, and its political system is one of the most structured and tightly managed in Southeast Asia. It is governed by the Communist Party of Vietnam, CPV, the only legal party in the country. The General Secretary of the CPV is arguably the most powerful person in Vietnam, more influential even than the President or Prime Minister. The centralized nature of the government has allowed Vietnam to maintain political stability for decades, a factor that investors and economic analysts often look upon favorably. The country's leadership has pursued a pragmatic blend of socialist governance with market-oriented reforms, a model often referred to as IME, or renovation, which began in the late 1980s. This policy shift marked a fundamental turning point, allowing private ownership, encouraging foreign direct investment, and gradually opening the economy to global trade. Since IME, Vietnam has transformed from one of the poorest nations in the world into a rapidly growing emerging market. Its economy has expanded significantly, with GDP growth often exceeding 6% annually over the past 2 decades. This level of sustained growth is remarkable, particularly given the challenges posed by global recessions, pandemics, and shifting geopolitical dynamics. Part of this success comes from Vietnam's strategic positioning. Nestled between China and the South China Sea, it has become a focal point for global manufacturers looking to diversify supply chains away from China. Major corporations like Samsung, Apple, and Intel have moved significant parts of their operations to Vietnam, drawn by lower labor costs, a youthful and educated workforce, and a government eager to attract foreign capital. What makes Vietnam stand out is its ability to adapt. Unlike many nations caught between rigid ideologies and economic stagnation, Vietnam has shown a willingness to evolve. Its political elite, while maintaining strict control, have demonstrated an understanding of how vital integration into the global economy is. The country is a member of key trade pacts like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, and numerous bilateral agreements that connect it to major economies in Asia, Europe, and the Americas. These agreements not only lower tariffs but also foster deeper structural reforms that affect everything from labor rights to environmental standards. Of course, none of this can be fully appreciated without examining the banking and financial system that underpins Vietnam's growth. The State Bank of Vietnam, SBV, is the central bank and plays a critical role in monetary policy, foreign exchange regulation, and financial sector supervision. The banking system in Vietnam has undergone considerable reform since the 1990s. In the early post-IME period, it was fragile and underdeveloped, dominated by state-owned institutions plagued by non-performing loans and weak capitalization. Today, Vietnam's banking system consists of state-owned commercial banks, joint stock banks, and branches of foreign banks. Digital banking is on the rise, with rapid adoption of mobile payments, online lending platforms, and fintech innovations. This digital transformation has been accelerated by a young population that is highly tech-savvy and by the government's broader agenda to build a cashless economy. However, challenges remain. The banking system still has a degree of opacity, and credit risk management is not yet on par with more advanced economies. Moreover, the SBV maintains a tight grip on the Vietnamese dong, using a managed float system to control volatility and maintain macroeconomic stability. This brings us back to the dong, a currency that has long been undervalued in the eyes of many. With an exchange rate that hovers around 23,000 to 25,000 dong per US dollar, it is often misunderstood. The high denomination is a legacy of past inflationary periods, but the SBV has since maintained a relatively stable monetary environment. Vietnam runs consistent trade surpluses and has built up substantial foreign currency reserves. It manages the dong with an eye on export competitiveness while slowly inching toward a more flexible exchange rate regime. Some analysts believe that as Vietnam continues to reform and integrate further with global financial markets, the dong could see a re-evaluation in its real effective exchange rate, reflecting stronger fundamentals than currently priced in. But beyond technical evaluations of currency, the more profound story is one of national transformation. Vietnam is not merely a China alternative or a cheap manufacturing hub. It is a rising power with its own identity, its own ambitions, and a leadership that, while authoritarian in structure, has shown an ability to deliver tangible economic progress. That progress is now intersecting with global shifts, such as decoupling from China, the rise of Asia, and the green energy transition, in ways that could position Vietnam as one of the most important nations to watch in the coming decades. If you find yourself drawn to the dong now, it's only the beginning of a much deeper journey. To truly understand its potential, you must explore Vietnam as a whole, its history, its politics, its people, and its vision of the future. The dong is a thread, but the fabric is much larger, much richer, and far more intricate than it first appears. That itch you feel is not just about currency speculation. It's about sensing a transformation in motion, a country on the cusp of asserting its place on the global stage. And there is no better time than now to begin watching, studying, and learning everything you can about Vietnam, because the next chapter in its story might just surprise the world. Thanks for tuning in to Iraqi Dinar Update. If you found this content helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat on Iraq's evolving financial landscape. Stay informed, and stay ready.